Well, I'm Jay with MXTV, and here we are in the garage of the Texas Motor Speedway for the 2002 Chevy 500. I'm here with Scott Sharp. Very excited to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about how you got into this whole race car driving thing.
I really was brought up in it. You know, at 6 months old, my dad raced as an amateur, and my mom started taking me to the racetrack, so I really grew up around it, you know, age 5 or 6, trying to help clean the car or whatever. And my dad stopped actively driving, became just more of a team owner. Same time I turned 8, and that gave him a little bit more time to start me in go-karts. So I raced go-karts for 9 years, and really it was never, am I gonna race? It was what, when, and where. And so it really helped my dad having a team, because he had some older cars laying around. There's a lot of great go-kart drivers out there who just don't have the cost to, you know, to jump up to race cars. So I was able to get up into that and start my racing career.
Wow, so did you dream as a little boy of doing this like your whole life?
Oh yeah, I mean, I spent every night, you know, on the kitchen floor playing with my little race cars and asking my dad questions about racing and driving and the team. You know, I grew up, you know, I'd spent a lot of days after school up at the race shop, and I think from an early time dealt with personnel issues and realized the importance of different players on the team, and just really had a great overall tutoring of it.
That's neat. Yeah. So it really is a team sport.
Oh, most certainly. You know, some people I think tune into TV and think it's just, you know, one driver doing his thing, and that's not the way it is at all. I mean, each guy plays such a critical role. I mean, we make pit stops in, you know, 6 guys go over the wall, and in 12 seconds they can fill the car and change 4 tires. And you know, we go the length of a football field in less than a second. So that just shows you what a gaining or losing a second in the pits can do for you. So it's a real team sport. You know, the guy that's airing up the tires plays as pivotal a role as the engineer making changes to the cars. You know, because if they're off just a little bit, it drastically affects how the car handles.
Wow. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your car.
All right, it's an Indy Racing League car. It's the Delphi number 8.
Okay.
We've kept the same paint scheme for about 5 years, so we're developing some continuity there. Kelly Racing is the team I drive for. I have a teammate, Alan Jr. There's probably about 25 or 30 guys that full-time do nothing 52 weeks a year, but try to figure out ways to make our 2 cars go faster.
Wow.
We run about 230, 235 mile an hour at Indianapolis, but at a place like here at Texas, we'll run 220, 225 almost every lap.
Wow.
Flat out, all the way around. We never lift, never brake. So at tracks like this, it becomes a real drafting game.
Yeah.
How your car can run right behind another car. If it can run well and you don't have to lift off the throttle, it'll really help your speed. So that's what we spent a lot of time getting our cars to try to work well behind other guys.
What is it like for you and your body in that car for 2 hours going that fast? Like, does it rattle your bones, or does it feel like you're flying?
No, it probably feels more like you're flying. You know, it's a very comfortable ride.
Oh, yeah?
I have a little beaded, about 1 million little beads that are custom formed to fit me in the seat. So it's a very comfortable seat. Yet, you know, there's tracks we go to where we pull upwards of 4.5 Gs. So you don't move at all. You know, you're almost like a glove in your seat. Belts are as tight as they can be. I've got full padding around my head, which doesn't prevent a lot of head movement. And you're almost just, you know, you get yourself as much. It helps to get yourself very locked in, like to the side of the car, so you can just feel any little movement that the car makes.
So what's the most exciting thing about a typical race?
Winning. But no, I mean, really, you know, I think the whole culmination of putting together a weekend of making the right changes to the car, because you know, you come over to a weekend like this, and you only have about 2 hours of practice time from the start of the weekend, Friday morning, till the end of the race, you know, Sunday. And that's not a lot of time to dial your car in. So very often it's the team that works the most efficiently and makes the right changes, goes back and discusses it, thinks about it in the best way that's going to therefore develop the fastest race car. So I think it's putting all that together, having the fastest race car, having the right strategy during the race, making the quick and efficient pit stops, and then as a driver executing on the track, making the right passes, putting yourself in the right position, and ultimately going and winning the race. You know, that whole euphoria of all of that together is tremendously rewarding.
Cool. Well, do you think for you it's a lot of instinct and just reacting in the heat of the moment, or is it a lot of the calculated and the practicing and the learning how to do it?
I think for most of the drivers, to get to this level, you've spent so many years racing. I've been racing since I've been 8 years old.
Wow, hardly legal.
25 years. And all of that is put into the back of your mind somewhere and experience. And certainly when you get out there and you're in the heat of the battle, I mean, it'll be a great race here. We'll have 2 or 3 rows deep, 3 cars abreast, moving and zigging and trying to find the right holes. A lot of that becomes very instinctive. And you feel every little movement in the car. We've got some adjustability in the car with sway bars and an instrument called a weight jacker that can move weight around to get the car to handle the way you want it to, and all that, you're feeling every subtle little movement in the car. I think all that's very instinctive.
Excuse me, one of y'all have the time?
3:15.
3:15, thank you. Sir, you know what time it is?
Yes.
You know what time it is?
Yes.
What time is it?
What time is it?
3:15. 3:15, 3:15, same thing. Excuse me, you know what time it is?
It's 3:15.
3:15, thank you. They're killing me here. Excuse me, sir. You know what time it is?
3:15.
3:15, thank you. Excuse me, sir, you know what time it is?
3:15.
3:15, thank you.
Hey, this is Jay Wakeham on MX TV. I'm here with Robert Perez, and he's the crew chief of Scott Sharp's team over here, and he's also a believer. Tell me a little bit about what it means to work with a Christian and how those opportunities flesh out in a day-to-day career.
Well, I tell you, the Lord has really blessed me and Scott, and as Christians, and we try to be good disciples for Christ. And I know being in racing, it tends to be a tough atmosphere because it's always quoted as being mechanics, but we always try to fellowship with our crew guys.
That's great. Is there any prayer time that you utilize before a race, or are you praying the whole way through?
Oh yeah, obviously we each of us have our own prayer time, but then right before the race we pray as a group, and of course we're always trying to get everybody involved that's in our prayer group.
So is a career like this just a dream come true? Did you always think about this as a kid and doing the race car thing?
Yeah, this is a dream come true. Like I said, I've been truly blessed by the Lord, and if it wasn't for the Lord, I wouldn't be in this sport, and He's given me a true gift.
That's awesome. It's really great to be here on a TV show showing kids all over the country and people all over the country that to be a Christian doesn't mean you have to be a guy in a tie and in a pulpit in a church, but you can be doing race cars, you can be a rock star, you can do whatever you want to do. Okay, so prayer is a big part of getting ready for a race for you. How did you come to meet the Lord?
You know, prayer is a big part of getting ready for the race for me, but prayer is something I do during the race.
I bet.
You know, I mean, there's so many times, uncertainty, situations, the tires change over the course of a 50-lap run. Sometimes the car's not very good. You know, you don't try to get the car that way, but it's really on edge. You're running 220 miles an hour, feeling like you're this far from crashing, and you got to do something with all that anxiety, for me. And I don't know how other drivers could handle it, but I always and pretty immediately give it to the Lord. And I just say, you know, take over. I don't know, I'm here for the ride, you take over, and it really calms me a lot. I give it to His hands. So, you know, I was very fortunate. I grew up in a real Christian-based family. My mother's always been very spiritual and felt that at an early age for my sister and myself that had to be an important part of our lives. So I went through all the Sunday school and the churches, you know, at an early age, and I don't know how much I really grasped of it, but I think the older I've gotten, I realized it did establish a foundation for me. And I think it wasn't until I got up into my late teens and dealt with the pressures of being a 17 and 18-year-old and also starting to direct my career path as well as my college educational path that I felt like I needed more and more of the support and the leaning on the Lord for direction in my life.
So what was it? Was there an occasion or something happened that made you go over the edge and give your life fully to Christ?
No, I think I've just always had subtle pushes from my mother, from my grandmother.
God in your life?
Yeah, of keeping God in my life, keeping me going to church, different pastors, some different people that I've encountered along the way. And I'd say there's some events in my life that are probably more recent. 1997, I got knocked out 2 times and was out for the rest of the year. First time I'd ever been injured in a car. Just had 2 crashes, and that had a lot of soul-searching time. And it was a great time for me to grow with the Lord and realize that, there's so much more about my life than just trying to win races every Sunday. And I've got 2 beautiful kids that mean the world to me, and putting the whole big picture into it. And then I think another important part of my life, obviously getting married. I met a wonderful wife who's so supportive, and another equally shares in my following of Jesus. And another really, I think, important point was in 2001. I think up to this stage, probably my greatest achievement in racing, we won the 2001 pole for the Indianapolis 500, obviously our biggest race. And you have to put 4 laps in continuous effort together, and they were just the most perfect laps at an average of 226 miles an hour. It was a huge rush. And I went out promptly 2 weeks later and crashed in the first turn of the first lap.
Oh!
So I went from a serious high to a serious low, and real hard to understand that. I felt we had a great shot to go out and win that race, and that was somebody I felt smacking me aside the head to grab my attention a little bit and realize, once again, to refocus me, recenter me, realize maybe I needed that to grab me and say, that doesn't mean everything. Winning the pole, it's great, and that's a gift, but that doesn't mean everything. And keep your focus, keep your thoughts on really where they need to be. And so those have been 2 pretty moving parts of my life to keep me, I think, on the path.
Yeah. Well, what would you say to anybody out there watching right now who's considering becoming a believer, but is a little worried about what that means or what that would do in their life?
Jesus Christ has brought so much meaning to my life, so much purpose, other than just the rambling of day in and day out, and the hustle and the bustle, which we all get caught up in, and the chasing after of what the rest of this world all chases after. And I think there's so much pressures and so much competitiveness, and I don't know honestly whether it's in the racing world. The racing world to me is like a microcosm of the rest of the world. There's so many of the temptations and the pressures that go on here that the rest of the world faces at large, and I don't know how people deal with it who can't go home at night or can't get on their knees and turn to the Lord and look for the support they need. And I just feel that if you're out there and you're contemplating that, you got to give that a chance. You got to try to give yourself to the Lord. You got to try to ask Him to come into you, and just I think the healing and the comfort that you'll find will be so rewarding and so tremendous.
Wow, that's really something interesting coming from someone like you who has achieved a lot of people's dreams. You're there, and to say that even you need Christ as a daily, every race, every day.
Sometimes hour by hour.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. All right, if you're out there and you're listening to what Scott has to say, I think that God may be talking to you, reaching out to you to make a decision, even right now as you watch this, to come to know Him. You can pray with me and Scott right now, and God is listening for you. He's listening to hear your words. You can repeat after me. This prayer is not something magical or creepy or weird, but this is just your heart speaking to God, and He will listen. If you can pray with us right now and say, "Dear Lord, I know You're real, and I know You're there. I know You hear my prayer because my prayer is sincere. And God, right now, I want to say that I trust in You. I trust in Jesus Christ, Your Son. I believe that You sent Him to this earth to die on the cross, to take away my sins, and to pay for all of the selfish things that I've done, to pay for all of the mean and hurtful things that I've done. And God, right now, I just take that forgiveness, I breathe in that peace, and I accept You as God of my life and God of my heart. In Your Son's name I pray, amen. Well, if you said that prayer with us right now, there's a phone number on the screen, and you can call that number. If you have questions, if you want to pray more with someone, we'll give you honest answers to honest questions. Thanks for being here with MXTV and Scott Sharp.